Oh my God.
Just sweeping.
Oh man.
God.
So we let that Lakers ass whooping marinate.
Oh
for a
my
week
gosh, we
before
back,
got
y'all.
to it.
It's your boy G with Alec and Matt, our Boston expert here, to talk about what we just went down the conference finals and giving you guys a preview for the NBA finals. Excuse me, getting started this week and excited to get into it. A lot of fun stuff going on both sides, and let's not waste no time. Honestly, I'm excited about all that's going on. Before we fully get into what is going on in the finals, let's go into what's going on with the Heat and the Nuggets. Let's backtrack first and get back to what led there. And we'll start off with LA. Me and Alec always been here talking about Lakers and all of that. Our team, as I joked about just now, got swept. Is what it is. Our team went out sad. Absolutely, we should pull up this picture. Here we go. Our team went out sad, losing 4-0 in the series, and definitely a tough situation for us. Alec, what was your thoughts about the sweep? And yeah, just start there.
Yeah, man, major salute to Denver. I think this team has been counted out since before the playoffs started, like even as the 1 seed. I think some people kind of looked at them almost like a Utah Jazz adjacent team, just because we hadn't seen the finals run to this point, which it was probably a little unfair, to be honest, to Jokic. I mean, he has drugged this team to playoff spots without Jamal Murray, without Michael Porter Jr.
We'll give them praise later on. I want to hear about the Lakers right now. What did you think of our squad getting beat? How they got beat?
Oh, you want me to just focus on the ass whooping that they took?
We'll get them praise later on. They're in the finals.
I was trying to give them their praise, but
later. Forget that.
Yeah, I mean, just in that closeout game. I mean, because we talked about each game one by one. For that closeout game, LeBron did his thing, but AD kind of once again didn't show up offensively.
Sure.
I think you couldn't really ask for more. He had like 40, 10, and 9 in that final game. And the rest of the group, Austin Reeves was good once again, but
the rest for 2 more points. But I hear you.
What for your split? But yeah, it was a tough way to go out, man. Like there's not much more you can say. Like we expected a Lakers Celtics finals, and we got neither of those.
Right.
But the Lakers just went out completely sad. I mean, they were in all of those games. Like they could have won a couple of those in Denver. And then they blew a 15-point lead in that game 4. So like they were very much in the series, but Denver showed why they were the better team in it.
LA was in it. Brian Windhorst said they're the best team to get swept ever, or something like that.
You don't need to do all that.
All kinds of weird stuff.
You don't need to do all that.
Find ways to circle it back to LeBron and all that stuff there. And we'll leave it in regards to the series there. I agree with what you said just about things could have been and all of that. But I want to discuss next though, and I'll bring Matt in for this as well. Just where you guys see this Lakers squad going next? Like LeBron's getting a bit older. There's all the talks about retirement that he may have brought up to deflect from the series, or whatever how you want to describe that, whatever the case is. It was brought up. This team, there's a lot of guys on this roster that could be swapped out. Like just how the Lakers get another ring before LeBron finally closes out his career?
Yeah, I mean, I just with the LeBron floating retirement, I thought that was really disingenuous. I wasn't sure why he brought. That was another huge LeCat moment for no reason really. Because even within those sentiments, he said like he's still better than 90 to 95% of the league, which he's correct about. But like, if that's the case, why are you talking about you might retire? Like, I don't think he's that worn down to the point. Maybe he was just too in the moment right after the game ended. He is 38 years old, and it's a lot on his body, I'm sure. But as he said, he's still a top 10 player in the league. So, like, I don't see him going off on that note, especially when he's talked about wanting to play with Bronny for at least a season. I think that's still very much something he wants to do. So I thought it was, like, completely fugazi for him to say that. I don't know how you guys felt about that.
Malik, jump in there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was another one of his classic lies, like that he likes to tell. I mean, I also think, after a devastating loss like that, I wouldn't you got to take anything an athlete says in that moment with a grain of salt. I feel
Right.
like,
Right.
like he just comes off like a huge emotional low and has to talk to the press.
Right.
And I don't think he's going to retire, but one thing that I think could cause him to retire maybe before his like skill level really declines
Mm.
is like he's had foot injuries,
Yeah.
this year. And I think that in particular, when you're older and like really big too, like he is, like your feet take a lot of that, the brunt of that damage. And like
We've seen those Shaq feet pictures, so for sure.
yeah,
So.
and like I remember specifically, I think it was David Ortiz's last year. He played for the Red Sox. Like the thing that he said, like he was still one of the better hitters in the league.
Mm.
And the thing that he said, he's like, I can't even run to like second base. It hurts.
Mm.
Like,
Mm.
and it's a different sport. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
he may have been even heavier than LeBron was at the end of his career. But
Mm.
like that's gonna take a lot of wear and tear, and it could end up being like a quality of life decision rather than I'm not good at this.
Mm.
There's been an idea people have floated around just about with him having those injuries and all of that. Maybe he isn't fully retired, but maybe he gets surgery and sits down for a while in the next season and kind of coasts and lets his body get back into full form and then fully gets back on board when his son is eligible a year from now after his 1 year at USC. So that could be a possibility, but I definitely hear you. That was my thought. While there are a lot of folks that joke about it, and I heard what you said about him being disingenuous, Matt, with your point about his foot injuries and all of that, I was like, I could see him being like, bro, my feet hurt. Like, I want to sit down for it. So I while we can't poke at LeBron about things, I actually understood at least what he may have been alluding to in that moment. So it's what it is, and we'll see how things adjust going forward. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. We'll talk more about their offseason as the Lakers offseason goes along. Now to the other side of things, Matt, we brought you here to talk about your squad. Your team sadly went out and they tried to come back from 3-0 and got to 3-3 and salute to y'all for the comeback, but Game 7 didn't quite go as expected. What do you make of that game, and where you guys go next?
I mean, Game 7, the wheels just came off. Like Tatum injures his ankle on the
Immediately.
first play,
Yeah.
like literally the first
Yeah.
play, and like that ankle injury didn't look too bad to me in the moment, but you could tell the rest of the game he was not the same.
Yeah.
And like when that happens, you need someone like a Jaylen Brown to step up, and he had a bad game. He was, he took a lot of ownership for the loss after the game. But by the time we get to Game 7, I was mostly happy with how the team bounced back. Like, as you guys know, after Game 3, I was not happy.
Yeah.
I didn't even watch Game 4. Like, just the way that because like even compared to the Lakers series, like you guys said, the Lakers were kind of in every game. Whereas like for the first 3 games of that series, about like the Celtics just they weren't, it almost, like I hate to bring up effort and stuff like that, but they just, it seemed like they just came out flat.
Yeah.
So I was at least happy they responded to that. But yeah, I mean, there was even a report that like Robert Williams was throwing up. Like he left to go to the locker room mid-game, and a lot of people, thought it might be injury maintenance, but he was sick, still was out there, still gave good minutes. But yeah, it just kind of fell apart by the end of it.
Has this duo of Brown and Tatum peaked?
No. I mean, maybe in terms of like how far they get to the playoffs, like it's obviously possible, like I'm not going to sit here. I think part of the reason that they would come out flat even in the Eastern Conference Finals is they thought it would be easy to get back to the finals, when clearly it wasn't. So, I hope that they learn a lesson from that. And I certainly think that they have the potential to get back there. I think any of the idea and probably what made me the angriest after Game 3 was the idea that they would blow up this core, at least like Brown and Tatum. Like there may be, specific things that we want to change. I think it would help to add like, more wing depth personally, because Grant Williams was very inconsistent. And like when he was on, this team was very different. So like if we can get someone to step into that role and, provide consistent minutes and production, it would help. But, other than that, I don't think they really need to like blow this team up or trade Jaylen Brown. Like I've seen a lot of rumors. If they would have gotten swept, I think that would have been much more of a possibility. So I am pretty happy that they at least came back and pushed it to 7.
I've seen a few folks now compare this duo to a duo of the past in Russell Westbrook and KD. Do you agree to that? How that lines up, and if so, how can they avoid the same fate of what KD and Russ did with their shortcomings in OKC?
I can understand the comparison, and like I think if, because Jaylen Brown's the number 2 here, like, I think if you give him his own team, his numbers will go up, like
Sure.
he would be a number 1 option. I think he would, be able to lead a team for like a full 82 games.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think that, he would have to have the right pieces around him to see success. And
Right.
similar to sort of, if we look back at the careers of Katie and Russ, like neither of them, like Katie found success, but he had to, go to Golden State for all that. So,
Sure.
it's, I could see it playing out that way, but I mean, I'd like to see them stick together. Because, I think if you also maybe ask a lot of OKC fans, like at least, even if it's not a guaranteed ring, at least seeing that core stay together, might have been preferred to sort of this retool that they've been in for a few years since.
Gotcha. The beginning of the end of that team that could have been a dynasty, we call it a dynasty, that didn't fully achieve it, was when they let go of James Harden. And having that third guy that was a superstar bubbling in that area just definitely is crucial. I bring that up just to say that the Celtics need that, as you kind of pointed to in regards to facilitator, I believe. The Celtics can use a guy, not literally Harden, but just that third piece alongside Brown and Tatum that they can turn to as to facilitate the offense a little bit. Marcus Smart is great, but he hasn't fully been that when needed. Derek White stepped up and made some plays, but a point guard that really can direct that full squad definitely could be helpful. So we'll see if that's a tweak made this offseason. The last thing I'll bring up in regards to them, what do you think of Joe Mazzulla? Do they keep him? Do they fire him? What are the thoughts about the staff?
I think they have to keep him, especially if you look back, it's their third head coach in 3 years, and they've been this competitive, but I also think that lack of continuity sort of plays into some of the struggles maybe.
Gotcha.
So I'd like to see him, really get a fair chance here, because he was thrown into a very high pressure situation. I know I talked about that last time I was on here.
Yeah.
It's like just like Darvin Ham was. And like I think being able to find success in a situation like that, especially as a younger coach and in your first year for both of them, I think it shows a lot of promise. And, I think you got to remember, like, this year will be great experience for him. Like especially when you get a job like this that young, you kind of learn on the fly. Like
Gotcha.
Al Horford is older than him, like
Right.
it's an interesting dynamic to walk into. And I think he at least was able to get the players to buy in on a level. It couldn't exactly flip a switch in them like it seemed Ime was able to do last year, but I do still think he's a good coach and, proved himself this year.
Gotcha. So we'll see how that plays out. I agree that I think he did a good job for what was sprung upon him in the moment there, and we'll see how they bounce back. Don't want too much success for them, of course. We LA guys and all of that, but we see what's building there, and just appreciate what's going on. So I know with the losers there. Now back to the guys who are non.
Hold up.
Oh, go ahead, Alec. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got Celtics comments for sure. And I wanted to start with Love though. Actually, I think Jalen proved a lot of people wrong, like myself included, but a lot of people wrong who were like dancing on the Celtics grave when they extended him with the 4 years, 100+ million with that rookie extension. I remember when he signed that contract, like people were laughing at the Celtics organization and like saying that like it was kind of gonna start like the downturn like of that like Celtics organization with giving him so much money. And I think he's outplayed that contract. Like I think he's well worth that money and he's worth more now. He's played at an all-star level, he played at an all NBA level throughout this regular season. So major credit to him. I think he has improved as a scorer. I just think to answer G's question, I do think there is a bit of a ceiling on this duo of him and Tatum together, because I don't think their games like complement each other the best. I think like they're both not the greatest of playmakers. I think they combine for like 8 assists a game total. And I think to G's point, they could use more of a traditional point guard. I think we kind of thought bringing in Malcolm Brogdon would be that, but he's kind of played better like as a 2 guard, like more of a scoring option.
Right.
And Marcus Smart can facilitate, as G mentioned too, but I think he's best kind of as a 2 guard. So I think bringing in a more traditional point guard would help them kind of get over some of the humps that they have in closing time and in crunch time, and just creating for the Jays so that they don't have to do as much of the creation. I think that would kind of help them get over the hump. But the duo, just them being the duo, I think they've kind of reached their peak in getting to a finals, getting to a conference finals. I don't know that they can get a championship like with just this duo being the duo for the team.
Any response to that, Matt, before we go on?
Yeah, I mean, they were really close last year, and the path was there this year. Like,
Yeah.
I think, that type of player would help a lot. But I also think, they aren't really going to be able to add a point guard on that level to the point where it necessarily like overshadows what the Jays do. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but
I
you're
don't
kind
think
of
it needs to
talking like
overshadow.
are you talking about like a Ricky Rubio kind of level player? I know he's older now, but just
something
like
that. Something like that, I think would be perfect. Like a Rondo in his later days in the 2020 team, like some for the Lakers, like something like that. Not an all-star level, but a guy that can facilitate for them. Something like a Kyle Lowry that's not quite as washed as Lowry, but
yeah. No, I mean, that makes sense. It would definitely help the team. But I also think they probably can get it done without that. Like, I think at least having, the pressure of being playmakers and the primary ball handlers hasn't gone well. Like, a big part of Jalen's, poor performance in Game 7 was the turnovers, which is a theme for him. But I also do, believe in sort of the year-over-year improvement. And I would hope, especially after that performance, that has to be like the number one priority for Jalen. And honestly, probably Tatum as well. Tatum's a really good passer, but he tends to get like tunnel vision when his shot's falling. So he kind of has like, it's like a switch he can flip. He doesn't necessarily have like both his scoring and distributing game like at the same time.
Got it. Anything else? We're good with that?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So cool. There was some interesting things to see. We're going on in Boston. We're going to keep our eyes on all of that. A lot of fun things to follow with them and LA. We talked about all of those teams that want to find their way back to the finals in the near future. So race 18 is going to be a fun one to follow, but for right now, that's on pause, and we're not here. And then NBA Finals now. Alec, you joked about Kyle Lowry being washed. He is washed, but he's in the game now. He's still here. The Heat made it through to the NBA Finals, and just want to give them their props for this run that nobody really saw coming to get here. Excuse me. What do you guys think about Miami getting to the finals after all that they've gone through? Alec, I'll start with you again.
Yeah, I mean, a very improbable finals run, absolutely, coming from the play-in tournament, the 8 seed, losing in that first game to Atlanta, and then fighting to get into a series with the Bucks, who no one thought they would win, beyond Heat fans probably.
Right.
And beating them in 5 games, and still kind of being countered out in each of these series. Even against the Knicks, there were people that thought the Knicks would handle them,
right?
And they showed out against them. And then against the Celtics, we all thought the Celtics would win, despite the uneven playing at times from Boston. We thought they would pull it out, and Miami, once again, figured out a way to beat the odds in that series and got the job done. A lot of that on the shoulders of Jimmy. A lot of that on the shoulders of Caleb Jordan, playing alongside of him, Caleb Martin. He was sensational offensively, right next to them, with Bam kind of falling short offensively. He had his defensive impact, but he wasn't really scoring, and Martin picked up the slack there. They talked a lot in this series about the undrafted guys. Those guys stepped up in a huge way, with Strus and Gabe Vincent.
Yeah.
Duncan Robinson was big. Like all of their role players stepped up in this series and throughout this playoff run. And it's been very impressive from the top down. This Miami Heat team has been counted out throughout the entire run. I think they're going to be counted out again. I think it's going to be a good series. I don't know if they're able to get the job done, but I think it's going to be a great series.
Before we get there, actually, Malpat, to you real quick. What are your thoughts on the run since you kind of fell victim to them in the process?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly impressive. Like, especially if Jimmy can pull this off, like, it's got to be like one of the more improbable, if not the most improbable championship run that any team's pulled off. Especially considering, Harrow was I would imagine, their second leading scorer the whole season, and hasn't played. I think the rumors are they're targeting Game 3 for him to come back, so he could give them a boost when they head back to Miami, which could make things interesting. I think Caleb Martin, he probably got robbed for Eastern Conference Finals MVP. I think.
I don't know about that.
I know Jimmy, commands a lot of the defensive attention, which sets him up for those open shots, but he still has to make them, and he was making everything. He was a consistent offensive presence for them in a way that Jimmy wasn't. Even the games that they lost, Caleb Martin was still shooting well. They don't win Game 7 if he was shooting 70% from the field or something. I think he was the key piece in that series for them, and probably I'd imagine he keeps it up, going to Denver. I hope he does, or else, I'm going to wonder what he would, what Boston did to him personally.
Real quick, you talked about the vote. Spoiler alert, kind of on some Succession stuff. And they showed the breakdown. It was one vote away. Had one vote went the other way, and would have went to Caleb, and he would have got the guy over Jimmy Butler, but ended up going to Jimmy instead. And both those guys really deserved it. But that just came to my mind when you talked about how close it was for him him being robbed potentially of that spot. But definitely salute to him. Anything else you want to add? Sorry to cut you off.
No, I mean, I think they have a shot. Denver is definitely the favorite, as I feel like we've alluded to, but I mean, the Heat have been the underdog every single round, and they've handled their business every single round. Really, the Celtics series was the most adversity that they even faced, with the Celtics winning 3 straight. I mean, they showed up Game 7 and pulled it out, which, it gives me confidence in their execution under pressure. Even thinking back to Game 6, for it to get close enough, for the Celtics staff to win on the crazy Derek White tip-in. Jimmy, I think they had a 10-point lead with something like 3 or 4 minutes left in the game. The Celtics did, and Jimmy just grinded back, got to the free throw line, and willed them back into the game. So I can't count that out after seeing performances like that.
Yeah, let's go to a full breakdown. I know we want to kind of give Nuggets their praise a little bit. We've done that before, so I'll save that for later. As for right now, going into this matchup, there definitely should be a fun one. A lot of folks are favoring the Nuggets in this, as they have seemed like the more high-powered team, while the Miami Heat are the unsuspected underdogs that have find their way through. So salute to both teams for getting here. Before we get into predictions, I'll ask this to both of you, starting at the top with Alec. Alec, the Miami Heat win the finals if what?
That's a good question. I think that's the question I'm kind of wrestling with, because I personally do have Denver in 7. I think it's a 7-game series. I've heard a lot of talk that it's Denver in 5 or 6. They're going to get them out of there. I feel like you can't discredit Miami at this point. I'm struggling really to figure out what the X factor will be for Miami. I think Jimmy's going to be Jimmy. I think Spoelstra's going to put on a masterclass and just throwing everything but the kitchen sink at Jokic.
Yeah.
I think Caleb Martin has to be good once again. So I don't know what it could be that gets them over the hump. They probably, maybe it's Tyler Hero providing that offensive spark that they haven't had. Like you said, he was probably the second leading scorer for this team. But I think it's going to have to be probably some really high level shot making, kind of like Denver had against the Lakers, where they were shooting 50% from 3 throughout the series. I think it's going to have to be really high level shot making from Miami, as it's been for a lot of this run, the others stepping up for Miami.
Matt, same for you. Miami wins the series of what?
I'd say if Caleb Martin averages 20 a game again, and Bam definitely has to play every single minute that Jokic is out there. Because even in the Celtics series, anytime they put Cody Zeller out there, I mean, Kevin Love minutes.
I think you might get some Kevin Love. Yeah.
I mean, but Jokic is going to feast on that either way. Especially Cody Zeller, he was getting played off the floor at the end of that Celtics series. And with someone like Jokic, they can't play around with that. And I also think, defensive assignment like that, Bam wasn't really scoring or doing a whole lot offensively in the Celtics series, but he was still making a positive impact. And he's going to have a similar, series against Jokic. But I think Caleb Martin, or really one of the other pieces has to get like 20 alongside Jimmy, I think, for them to win.
I don't even know if that's enough though. Just because you got like in the Lakers series, you got Reeves putting up 21 or whatever a game alongside LeBron and AD, and that wasn't really.
I think it's a little different just because the shooters that the Heat have aren't exactly the shooters that the Lakers did. You know, like you can't leave Gabe Vincent open. If Duncan Robinson's on the floor, you have to cover him. And he, you know, has in a similar way to Reeves, he isn't as aggressive as Reeves, but like you have to put so much pressure on Robinson at the 3-point line that he can get to the rack and like make a pass, make a layup. So I think that type of pressure from at least like everyone that's usually out there for the Miami Heat, whereas with the Lakers, like you had 1 or 2 points of attack really, but like Gabe Vincent can, you know, put up 20 if you need him to.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of that and see how important all those guys are. So the name that comes to mind immediately, obviously a big name, obviously, but just his role is going to be really crucial in this, especially is going to be Bam. And just seeing what he provide on the offensive side. If he could add anything more on the offensive side to wear down Jokic a little bit on when he's playing defense, that definitely could be a little bit more impactful. We saw in that first with the Lakers, when AD put up that 40 piece in that first game, we almost won that one, but that's when they stormed back. I believe that was and they stole it from us. But having someone that can match up a little bit with Jokic on both ends and wear them down, I think even in an interview, Jokic talked about Bam and how he praises his game for what he does for Miami. Having the guy that does a little bit of everything over there, he's definitely going to be crucial, and he's the guy that have eyes on first, though everybody else that will play their part as well. But yeah, definitely excited to see how that plays. And on the flip side, I mean, everybody seems to favor this already, but just to ask you, I guess, Denver wins this series of what? I'll start with you this time, Matt.
I'd say if Jokic can control the game, like, you know, when he is just able to, you know, make his passes, get into his offense, it's pretty hard to stop. And I think you also saw, you know, AD did what he could, but Jokic is still able to really control the boards as well. So I think it's mostly, you know, he's the best player on the floor. I think that's you know, as great as Jimmy is in the playoffs. I think that's pretty indisputable. So it's like if he can maintain control of the game, you know, on the boards and sort of run their offense how they like to, I think Denver's going to win. I think it'll be a long series, but I do think Denver would pull it out.
Got you. Alex, same for you?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Matt, about the boards. I mean, it was pissing me off how Jokic can still – he barely gets off the floor, and he's dominating AD on the boards. And I think that is maybe another – to your last question, G, like a way that Miami could potentially win this series is controlling the glass. Because that was huge, Denver on the boards and the boards.
I would like to add that was like their one consistent like flaw in the series against the Celtics was offensive rebounding. Like it wasn't just that Derek White tip in. Even in some of the losses the Celtics had, they had like a 20 plus rebound advantage or something like that. So I think that could be a huge factor in the series.
Yeah, it's huge. Like they cannot get murdered like that against the Nuggets, or else it will be a short series. I think I'm gonna replay the hits from last series and say Jamal Murray, I think, is the key personally. Because I think Jokic gets off regardless of what they throw at him. Like, I think he's getting 30, 10, and 10 in this series. But if Jamal Murray continues to play how he is in this playoffs, like a superstar, I think they win this series. I think he's at 28, 6 and 5 with 2 steals on 40, 48, 93 splits. So he's been cooked. Like, they've honestly been a Kobe Shaq duo throughout this playoffs. And like that's very high praise, but Jokic has been a 31, 13, and 10 guy. So like they've been huge as a duo. I think they've proven to be the best duo in the league right now currently. And if Jokic is going to get off, but if Jamal Murray is also getting off with Jokic too, I think this is going to be a shorter series than it probably could be. So, Jamal Murray is once again my key for the Denver Nuggets.
Got you. I wrote with you in that, and I see. I'll let you guys see about the Nuggets having the advantage. In this series. So excited to see how that plays out, and let's get into it as we get out of here. Just your official predictions first for the whole series, then we'll go to game 1 after that. Alec, what's your full series prediction for the NBA Finals?
My full series prediction is Denver in 7. My heart wants it to be Miami in 7 and Jimmy. But from what I've seen, I think Denver is the deeper team. and they're just playing beautifully off of Jokic, and Jokic is playing like the best player in the world. So I think that depth and him at the top being the best player in the series, I think they're able to edge it out. So I got Denver in 7. And it's hard to say game 1 because they're definitely the more rested team. I think they've had 10 days off. But sometimes that can hurt you as far as the rust a little bit, and Miami coming off.
I just remembered this. Can I add this in before you, as you add to that?
Yeah.
This was last year. They played since then, but doesn't having a bit of the history add to it at all? And people kind of glossed over it. The whole fight that they had, but I think it was Marquise Morris and Jokic.
Yeah.
And that beef that went on for a while. There was an infamous picture of them with the penguin, whoever this guy is, in the locker room. Look at the penguin with Batman. Waiting for
That's like a private eye.
Does them having history at all impact what could go on in this series?
Yeah, I mean they're slightly different teams because like I don't think Marquise Morris is on the Heat.
No, a few of those guys are gone at this point, but still the main ones are still there.
Yeah, the main ones are still. I mean, I think there may be a little bit of animosity between like Jimmy and Jokic, maybe potentially, but I don't know that there's a whole lot of like bad blood. Like if you could completely run that narrative, you can try.
Udonis Haslem doesn't forget.
Udonis Haslem. My goodness. No, I don't know how much that instance plays a factor. I mean, I know the Jokic brothers will be in the crowd, so maybe they don't forget. I'm sure. So maybe
they might have the lasers in the
crowd. But I think there will be enough animosity just with it being a final series and in both teams being hungry to prove themselves in different ways. So I think there will be enough contention going on there, even without that. That prior instance, but with this game 1, I think Denver at home is the safer bet. So yeah, I'll stick with Denver at home, game 1 win. I think Miami can steal 1 though.
Series.
Yeah, I mean I hate to kind of say the same thing as Alec here, but I do think it would be Denver in 7. I think it'll get interesting if Miami wins one of these first 2 games in Denver.
I think they can.
I don't expect that to happen from a combination of the altitude and the difference in rest. Like I think that Celtics Heat series pushing to 7, like either team would have had a hard time no matter who won that.
Yeah.
And then Denver's just been back home. Like the altitude is a factor. Like it definitely messes with your breathing. And the Heat, like we're talking about depth, they don't exactly, have guys just waiting off the bench that they can plug in and play. Like I thought Highsmith did a really good job for them as like a tweak that Spoelstra was able to make, but they are still relying on a lot of older guys like Kyle Lowry, Kevin Love. Zeller looks like, most people you can find running at a YMCA. So I don't know if those guys are going to be as effective at the altitude. And I think Denver's just been waiting.
Yeah.
I have the Nuggets jersey on. I'm supporting Melo. I know that's 15, and everybody associated with Jokic right now. I mean, the joke I heard about the sweep for the Lakers and all of that. Yeah. While that is the case, and I see the advantages that they may have, I'm rooting for the Heat in this. I'm not going to lie. I want to see Jimmy get one. I think that he can, and I mean, I guess I'll be one of those media guys and play it safe. But the thought was just that if the series goes long, because you guys both said 6-7
7,
correct? Mm-hmm. If the series goes that long, if they can find a way to get there, I think the Miami Heat find a way to get it done. I think they either show that they're the better team early on and just get it done and knock them out, or if the Heat can keep playing chess and Spoelstra finds the advantages or whatever the case, if this series goes past 5 games in my head, I think the Heat find a way to get it done. So I'm rooting for them. I think Jimmy's been here before and had the sad moment that he had in the last one in the bubble and wanted to get back and improve his work and all that. I think that there's ways for them to do it. It's going to be a very tough challenge, but they've already got past some drilling nuts already and surely could find a way and get again in these finals, which will be a historic performance. So, yeah, I'm rolling with Jimmy Jordan, Caleb Jordan, whichever one you want to do. Rolling with both of them, even in the Nuggets jersey for trolling's sake. But yeah, I definitely see how that plays out. And then for game 1, yeah, as everybody else says, as you've seen for all these series so far, whoever wins one on the road first, that's when the series starts, or however the quote goes. And I think maybe not win game 1, but I think they'll win one of these first 2 to really push this series on to a long series as folks see it going. So
Miami starts off 3-0 again. Just shocks everybody.
It's more the opposite is more likely, but I think that if they find their way back, it could end up being just a historic performance from them. So excited for that. I'm looking forward to how that plays. So a lot of good stuff that went along with all the conversation. Excited to see how everything plays out. The last thing here, we've been gone for a little while now, haven't got a chance to get back into G's units and all of that. Real quick for the last few games, we've kept polls going online for each game and have folks that are winners. So I want to make sure those guys are acknowledged. So we started doing it for the Eastern Conference Finals games and how that played. For Game 5, a guy by the name of Noah Bogus, I believe his name is. My apologies if I said that wrong.
I didn't know who that was.
He got the leader. He was the leader of the pack for Game 5. Not to the Clay guy who's won a couple of times now. So salute to him for being involved and being up on his stuff. He was the leader of the pack for Game 6. And then I don't know how to say his name. I don't think I said his name.
That's Dart. That's Dart.
You said Dart Agnew.
D'Artagnan.
D'Artagnan. No, excuse me, D'Artagnan.
Shout out to Dart.
But salute to him. They got all the things right for the last 3 games that we missed so far. So a lot of fun stuff there. We'll have it going again for these finals for sure. I'm going to switch it up a little bit too. There will be the 4. We'll have 4. I usually use six little polls for you guys to vote from. I'm going to do 4 real ones. It'll be the prize. But anyways, for the picks, it'll be 4 real ones. It'll be the points, rebounds, assists, wherever the case is. And then 2 random ones I'll sneak in. For example, for Game 1, I put, will DJ Khaled be in a commercial? Just something random for you to look for. Or, for example, how many times will the broadcast say LeBron over or under 5 times during the broadcast? Those are like that we have to pay attention to just to keep things interesting. So good stuff there. For the real prize picks, which is the last thing we'll do for Game 1, we back at it. Put a little $5 one down as we always do, just for entertainment's sake. A short one, nothing crazy. I got Jokic. They got a taco. They got to give us a freebie over a half a point. I'm sure he's gonna play, so he's gonna get at least 1 point.
Might sprain his ankle on the first play. I don't know.
Oh my God, anything's possible. But I think that one's pretty locked. Alongside that, they got Caleb Martin for over 23.5 points and rebounds. He's been active on both the scoring and on the boards. I think he had a game where he had like 20 and 15, I think, the other day, I thought it was. So I don't know if it'll be fully the same impact, but he'll have enough points at the rebound, even if they drop, can get him over that 23.5. And then for continuous Pope, who has become a important figure in the offense, not even make shots, just the attempted shots. They got in that 4.5. So I was like, I think that could be a spot where Jokic continues to find him on the outside. And he gets some shots up. So a little 3-leg there for you guys to pay attention to. You can put $5 down and tell me if you want. But just something for you guys to keep your eyes on. And we'll have more fun things for you guys as we go on in the series.
What's the G's unit record looking like? Have we taken
record? I haven't tracked it, and I have a fully show on here. It's up and down. It's up and down. That's all I'll say.
We're not keeping track.
You're good. But that's it for today. That's all we got. A lot more fun conversations for you guys going forward. Surely, I'm excited to keep checking things out as things go along. We are following all the NBA stuff heavy, and we'll get more into NFL and beyond as things start to pick up. But excited to be here for the finals and looking forward to how this goes. Thank y'all for tuning in. As always, like, rate, subscribe, comment, share. How you show love, we definitely appreciate it all. Thank you, Alec and Matt, for being here again. Any last words from you guys?
No.
Thanks for having me on.
As always, great how you guys see y'all in the chat as always shortly after this. And we'll be back to it. So good stuff there. And we'll see you guys again real soon, man. We out here, man. Peace.
Deuces.